Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. We are back. Happy New Year to every single one of you tuning in here to this PSGL versus WOR event here in Austria. 2.6 miles a lap, 10 turns, 2 DRS zones here. We're going to bring some fantastic racing in the Spielberg Alps, and those 10 corners are going to be meaning, I think, some pretty intense racing. And of course, with those intense racing, need some intense racers. Here's your lineup. We do have a really sort of fascinating lineup ahead of us here for sure. We're going to have the PlayStation guys for PSGL Racing with Rowan, Jensen. You've got Legend, you've got Kazil, you've got Tom, you've got all of these fantastic sort of runners all running riot. But then it is all about, on the WOR side, that number one driver at the top. It is Otis Lawrence. Can anybody beat the king? That is the question on the lips of many drivers here tonight, and it's going to be the question on myself and Ryan Jacobs' lips here tonight. Thank you very much for being alongside us with this one, Ryan. We're in for a fascinating event ahead of us. We have got a raining qualifying session, full qualifying tonight. The drivers have immediately got to adapt.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really looking forward to this. We've already experienced a little glimpse of it with Portugal in the last event. Xbox coming out on top on that one, so the PS guys certainly will be looking for some revenge here tonight, and a wet qualifying so far. All the drivers selecting the intermediate tyres here in qualifying one, so it's going to be very interesting. A lot of these drivers probably didn't prepare for the intermediate conditions, so let's see how they're going to be able to adapt. Yeah,
they're going to have to adapt quite quickly actually, because the raining conditions around Austria usually will spice things up a little bit, you have to say. So, of course, all of these drivers are separate. 10 drivers on Xbox, 10 on PlayStation. The 10 drivers on PlayStation representing the PSGL team, and, of course, WOR are being representing as well on the Xbox side. And immediately straight out of the blocks, no expectations about what tyres, well, you know, there is solid expectations, sorry, about what tyres people are going to be on. It is going to be that intermediate tyre on immediate suspicion here. But, of course, this is Austria, and unfortunately, it means that the rain does tend to peter out a little bit on the slower side around here. So whenever we do get to that dry stint, indeed if there is one, it's going to be a slow process to get to the soft tyre. And when that does happen though, Ryan, it means that every corner counts, because of course it means the track evolution is slow, which means might go all the way to the 0 hour on Q3.
Yeah, exactly right. When it starts to dry up, that's when, you know, we get to see the best of these drivers, and changing conditions can be so hard to adapt to for some of these guys. And, you know, you never know. We don't know. It might go from dry to wet again, and that, again, can be a real pain to, you know, nail that lap. There can be so much pressure involved as well, because you might have one opportunity to get through to Q2 or Q3 here if it starts to dry up. And that would be interesting to see how these guys can handle the pressure. On board with Jensen now, struggling through turn one already, seeming really uncomfortable in this intermediate conditions.
Yeah, the conditions are not at their best, to say the least, actually. Of course, setting the fastest first sector of anyone, because he's the only person to set a first sector time at the moment, but taking it very gingerly going into turn 3, and actually keeping it in 4th gear, but still getting a tank slapper going through turn 3. Now heading into turn 4. Now, this is going to be the tricky bit, of course, because now we're going downhill, and if you go a little bit too much on the curb, you can't miss your apex, as Jensen has done ever so slightly in the Aston Martin, as he's now going to keep it nice and tidy as he heads through into turn 6. And this is again downhill, and if you go on the power too early in these conditions, you will certainly slide out and be straight into that gravel. But looking to be a little bit more of a conservative first stint here for the PlayStation guys.
Yeah, certainly so. Looking to really just see their way into the session so far. McCabe Sam also struggling and invalidating his lap. Just went on board with him. On board back with Jensen coming around the final corner now. Really slow through that final apex. He has not taken any chances so far. I feel like he did back off, of course, and now he's going again after that terrible turn 1. So he'll be looking to improve now. A bit more speed definitely needs to be carried. But again, in these intermediate conditions, when you haven't done any practice, there's certainly that level of uncertainty, and looking to adapt and really just ease your way into the session, and there's plenty of time to do that for some of these drivers. So taking that risk this early on in the session really isn't necessary.
Yeah, only two PlayStation drivers at the moment setting their initial lap time for PSGL, 1:12.6 at the moment for the VIR driver in the Red Bull. We're on board with the king himself, Otis Lawrence, at the moment, fastest second sector and first sector of anyone so far, so he's gone purple in both of those sectors, but again quite gingerly through these corners, as I think I have to pardon my pronunciation of Agiano if that is exactly how you pronounce it, but 12.4 for the Ferrari. But here comes Otis then as he comes across now into turn 10, and again keeping it nice and tidy, but sets the initial lap time 1:11.8 at the moment as the first of the Xbox drivers set their first initial lap times. It is Otis himself, the king, immediately coming out of the blocks and going faster by quite a big margin as well, 0.6 of a second versus Agiano. Of course, just before then we did see a lap coming from Sam McCabe, the infamous St. George Esports driver as well for WOR. He, though, invalidated his lap time and sets an initial 1:13.0 as Smokey comes across the line again for the Xbox team in WOR to 1:12.3 for him as it makes it a front row lockout.
Yeah, all the Xbox drivers so far doing what they must, and that is just setting a representable banker lap time, and we're just going to see these times come tumbling down. A lot of these drivers have put in a lot more fuel as well, just to make sure they can do multiple runs and to really just ease their way into the session. Like I've mentioned again, Rowan now improving, getting a purple first sector, and you're just going to see these times come tumbling down as this session progresses, and the drivers are starting to find their way around here as well. Only takes around 1 or 2 laps to really get comfortable in these intermediate conditions. You spot your braking point, and then it's all down to how much speed you can really carry through these corners in these intermediate conditions. As well as that, getting on the power is absolutely vital. And there we go, Otis again improving marginally, but that's still a big improvement compared to the rest of the field around him. Again, Smokey as well, another Xbox driver who's up on his time, but nobody so far can seem to really break into the 1:11s bar Otis.
Well, FRA Placky comes across the line with a 1:12.8 in the Haas, and it's not the greatest lap time, but he took an intriguing line though through turn 6. I think he took too much curb and beached it maybe ever so slightly upon the curb, so we'll keep an eye on that one. Let's head over to PSGL though, of course, with Jesus Tom in the Alpha Tauri. Now he's just heading into turn number 4, heading downhill, takes a lot of curb but hits his apex absolutely to perfection, but gets a big smatter of water up on the camera after hitting the curb, which of course are going to be naturally a little bit damper than the dry line that's now starting to form out there. And again, another driver taking a bit of a wider line going through turn number 6, and again you expect the wider line through 7 as well to have a little bit more on the curb, and I think that is to be one of the expectations here, to try and keep the car as straight as possible around here, because with the sort of slight inclinations, you'd have to say, of the cars out there. So we've got a yellow flag wave, I believe, for one of the McLarens. As a big tank slapper, but very well caught for Tom as he comes across the line there for PSGL, P6, behind his teammate Ruddy in the McLaren.
Yeah, nicely done from Tom in the end to really recover that lap as he's done, is to get himself into the top 6. He'll be quite happy with that one after the amount of mistakes on that lap time, so he'll be over the moon with that. Again, a few drivers still just setting lap times. Jensen goes up into P6 now, beating his Shazoo colleague, and there we go, times are starting to come down, and there we go, VR going into the wall there. I'm not going to try and pronounce that last name, but yeah, the Red Bull driver really struggling so far, but there we go, 3 laps on those intermediates. I think he'll be returning into the pits quite shortly. Yeah,
get a new set of intermediates on if you can, especially if it starts to dry out, as Tom, I think, is just having a little bit of a play around at the moment as he's getting a few little drifts around here, as it is an Austrian drift, but Nan, I believe, is actually now just gone into a fuel-saving mode. But the TF10 driver, actually, Rudy, set to 1:12.403, and you just said about Jensen, 12.404. So good consistency from the PlayStation guys, as they've got actually 3 drivers in the 12.4s. They've got one in the 12.5, and then they've got a couple in the 12.6s. And the 2 Xbox drivers down in the 12.8 and 13.0s, I think, are not setting representative lap times on this particular occasion. As we'll actually head over to the Paradox Sim Racing team through Sav. They're represented, of course, WOR, as he's now heading into turn 4. What a season it's been, actually, for the Paradox Sim Racing team on the Xbox tier. They've been absolutely wonderful to watch, and I'm sure next season is going to be another fascinating one for the team. But in the meantime, they are dropping their teams to represent WOR in this 10 versus 10 event. As he heads into turn 4, Sav, ever the gentleman, actually, with the steering wheel. Very Jensen Button-like, very calm and collected with that steering wheel.
Yeah, he's definitely looking to set a good lap time here, and he's just been very, very smooth. He's putting a lot of practice into this, as I do know, working with him in PSIs, seem to really put the hours into this tournament, and it's going to be interesting to see what he can do, because all he's done, it has been dry sessions. So seeing what he can do in the intermediates, you can just tell he's just trying to find his way in this qualifying so far. Very smooth and not really taking any risks so far. But up to line now, it's a 112.469, puts himself up into the top 10.
Another in the 12.4s, as we've just seen, the Fab in the Red Bulls just gone into the 12.0. Now we're starting to get into around about 3/10 now of Otis Lawrence's initial lap time of a 1:11.7. So we're starting to see these lap times beginning to sort of tumble down ever so slightly, and that is an expectation, to be fair, because these drivers, of course, are going to be shifting some of the standing water that's out on the circuit, and the rain is now starting to get significantly lighter. And again, this rain will take a little bit of time to shift as well, so the track evolution may take a little bit of time, which means every corner is going to count. As we take a look at the I think it's the new look NRX team, of course, on their return to the esports world. Rusty currently down in P20 at the moment with that initial 1:14.4, but of course that's not a representative lap time in the slightest. He's now going to have another go at it, as he's now just heading through turn 6. But another driver taking a little bit wider of the initial apex. Is that a faster line for some, I wonder?
Yeah, certainly so. Just getting on the traction a little bit earlier and just being able to just line up the car and get a better exit. That seems to be the approach from a lot of these drivers. But again, it seems to me their setups seems to be very, very loose on the rear end, because they're certainly struggling through these long corners. Their rear end is certainly not stable. But again, Rusty only does enough for P13, so he'll be looking to improve once again, and he won't be safe in Q1 at this moment in time. But Xbox certainly a bit all over the place in terms of where they're all placed. So some drivers really just need to find their footing, get into a rhythm. And that can go as well for some of the PlayStation guys as well, struggling outside the top 10 as well. But PlayStation looking quite a bit more comfortable at this point of the session so far.
And Alfa Romeo have just come out of nowhere for Xbox at the moment with Scyther 1:11.8. We have another person now into the 1-minute 11s, and we did actually say, didn't we, prior to this stream starting, Ryan, Scyther was going to be one of the drivers that you'd have to expect would be challenging Otis. He was doing it throughout the season last season, and he's now breathing down his neck again with that 1:11.8 and a 1:12 dead for McCabe Sam, as VSR Smokey comes across the line and has beaten Otis Lawrence across the line with a 1:11.7 of his own. Now the track evolution starting to become quite a big key in this one. Now, of course, it's been a little bit of a shaky start initially in this qualifying session, but if track evolution is now a thing, anybody could still get through here.
Yeah, certainly. It seems to be that the raindrops are getting a bit lighter on the track at this moment in time. It seems like the rain has actually started to go away here. So that could be explaining a big part of that. And there we go, NRX Rusty delivers a flying lap time of a 1:11.5. And it seems to me the rain is starting to go away. It just seems to me, yes, it's just standing water now on the track. So we could have, at the end of this qualifying, a dry session. 6 minutes remaining. That's surely enough time for this track to dry up.
Yeah, potentially, which means track evolution might actually be a bit quicker than anticipated, which means people are going to be coming out thick and fast. And there may be even someone who's going to be maybe a bit of a gambler, maybe try and go on a set of softs towards the end of this. If that's the case, PSR Nick goes faster, 1:11.0, as Otis Lawrence has set a purple second sector, but he's losing the rear ever so slightly as he mounts those curbs, as Shazoo's Tom comes across the line in second, as Smokey goes even faster, and we're into the 1-minute 10s already in this first qualifying session already. It's been an absolutely monumental start from these drivers, as Otis is going to come across the line. What's he going to be setting as he comes with a 1-minute 10.1, goes 6.5 tenths faster than the rest of the team out on the field. Is there enough track evolution here for someone to beat Otis Lawrence, at least in the first qualifying session? That is the question, I wonder.
We'll have to wait and see, but that time is astonishing, and he is down on his first sector already. So seems to me that might be just the one lap for Otis. You might have to return to the pits relatively soon. 4 laps on those intermediate tyres. Gano as well in P2. He's done a very good lap time, just beating Smokey by 0.02 of a second there, so he'll be very happy with that one. But it seems to me the track is certainly drying up, and we could see the softs coming out very, very soon. Interestingly,
FRA Placky has just set the fastest second sector of anyone so far, 1-minute 9.9, set by Shazoo's Jensen in the Aston Martin for PSGL, as he comes across now turn 9 into turn 10. Does FRA Placky. He'll be then followed up by FVR Louis as well for PSGL, so the Alpha Tauri actually coming straight into the pit lane, believe it or not. Placky comes across the line with a 1-minute 9.8, goes from 20th to 1st. fast in just one lap indeed. Good work indeed from him as DRS has been enabled. So now the soft tyres are going on a bunch of these drivers and they're going to have to go on very quickly. 4 and a bit minutes to go.
Yeah, this is where it's going to get very, very tasty at the end of this qualifying now. Strap yourselves in, folks, because it's going to get feisty, because drivers are going to be fighting for track position, and they'll only have and you want to be the last one out on track here as well. That's going to be the crucial thing. If you're the last guy to come across this line, you're going to have the best track compared to everybody else, with everybody going out setting some lap times. So it's going to be interesting to see who comes out on top and who's going to be eliminated here.
Yeah, certainly is. First driver that's going to be setting his lap time, though, on a set of soft tyres will be Cypher, of all people. The guy that's been challenging Otis Lawrence pretty much throughout the season on Xbox is going to be the first person to set a lap time on the set of soft tyres. So we'll see that comparability of the soft versus the intermediate tyre. And the Alfa Romeo absolutely flying through turn 1 already. So clearly, these dry tyres are absolutely chef's kiss beautiful at the moment for those drivers as they head through into turn 3, looking a little bit shaky though on the rear ever so slightly, getting a little bit keen maybe on the rear. And good evening to every single one of you just tuning in, by the way. 287 of you already tuning in, and it has been an absolutely fantastic qualifying session, and we've got another 27 minutes of it ahead, by the way, so this is going to go and get even tastier as we've got Scyther now coming around turn 6, and then he's going to head into turn 7, fastest second sector of anyone so far, as to be expected. He's now going to keep it not on the curb so much easier, so the track evolution is a lot quicker than anticipated out there, that is for certain. As he heads into turn 9, he absolutely throws the Alfa Romeo into turn 10, misses the yellow sausage curve, and absolutely plants the throttle as he heads across the line with a 1 minute 4.7. We do have a little bit of time left in there, though.
Yeah, certainly so, and that's already an impressive lap time. On board with PSR Serv coming around the final corner as well. He goes into the 1 minute 4.5s, so that the track is vamping up here, and it is going to be very, very close. You're going to want to be the last guy out on track. I wonder what both Sav and Cypher are going to do now. Are they going to do a cooldown lap and then go again later on? They surely have to, because those times are not going to be good enough to get through here.
Yeah, McCabe Sam comes across the line with a 1:11.6, but then PSR Wilson comes across the line with a 1:04.5 of his own, so he's looking pretty sharp. As Smokey will come across the line, and he'll start his initial lap times now. A 1 minute 10.7 is what he set on the Inter. What's he going to do on the soft? That is the main question. He's 2 thousandths of a second, actually, slower than Oggiano at the moment for the TF10 team, representing PSGL, and they're on a lap themselves. Actually, it's an invalid lap at the moment, so they're going to be having to have another go at this one. We'll actually go on board with the Paradox Sim Racing driver Nick, 4.2 seconds up in the second sector alone, but goes purple but invalidates immediately, and now he's potentially going to be at risk, especially if these soft tyres start wearing out too quickly. As we've got VFab coming across the line, he starts his initial lap time as well. Rowan is also coming across the line to start his initial lap time as well on the soft tyres. This is going to be crucial. There's a lot of traffic actually in that third sector as well. Just keeping an eye out on Rusty, who's just had to get away out of the way of about 4 or 5 drivers, which could harm him actually later down the line if that clock is ticking down too quickly. We'll have to see. We'll keep an eye on that one as TF Rudy comes across the line for TF10 PSGL and goes 5th with a 1 minute 4.9. These lap times are getting quicker by the second. It is important. McCabe Sam elects to retire, and he is done for this one as Smokey comes across the line with a 1 minute 4.4, and Louis is now going to be the next person to come across the line. He bailed on his intermediate lap time, and what a call that was as he comes across the line with a DRS open. He'll come across the line from P20 to P7 with a 1.4.8.
Yeah, it seems like as rain has returned in this session as well. If you look on board with the cars,
oh, the Haas
raindrops on top of the Haas car of Levi. So the rain has now returned. These are crucial laps now for Levi as well. The track's going to get damper again. What is going on in this qualifying session? Coming up to line now, so 104.9 for Levi. And there's going to be a few drivers surely who are going to be eliminated here simply because of the track getting damp.
Yeah, of course, I didn't see that one. The rain now beginning to fall once again, so the rain stopped and everyone moved on to the soft tyres, and now the rain begins to fall again. These soft tyres are going to slowly get worse as the time goes on, as Jensen comes across the line, can only go 14th fastest, and all the people come across the line. Plaque can stay only 15th fastest. Oggiano still well down the field on 1 minute 10s, and he's struggling going into turn number 4, so he's now beginning to struggle actually out there, as we've just seen Nick plow it into the wall. He's done and dusted. He's absolutely fuming. The rain's fallen at just the wrong time, and he is looking like he's going to be knocked out, and he is. knocked out of this session. Shazoo Tom looking to try and improve for PSGL. He's the teammate, of course, from Louis, who's just retired down in P12. He's looking potentially to get through, but he will be knocking out one of his co-compatriots at Legend as he'll come across into turn number 10. And that rear not looking very happy, I must say. He was a bit hesitant to get on the throttle, and he does get through, but knocks out his teammate down to 16th place. Placky can't improve either, I believe, as he's now keeping it nice and tidy. He's actually only half a tenth up in the second sector, so he's looking to try and get at least in there, but he will be knocking out his teammate, NRX Levi, as he's now just invalidated his lap time, and that will be it for those drivers looking to try and improve. And I think we've got our first 5 drivers who have been knocked out. It will be 2 WOR Xbox drivers and 3 PlayStation PSGL drivers. That is it for this qualifying 1 session. What a manic session it has been. We might be back on intermediates in Q2.
Yeah, that was unbelievable to say the least. So I was wondering why everybody went out so early. That explains it now, because there was rain happening once again. So what a decision that was for some of the Xbox drivers. They timed it to perfection. The PS drivers as well. Bit unfortunate for some of those. I saw a bit of traffic, so I feel like could be a few guys complaining about that one. But either way, that was quite interesting to say the least. But yeah, what a qualifying session that was. Great calls from some of those drivers, but a surprise for me is Jensen out. Here in Q1, that's something I did not expect.
Yeah, that is it. And DRS has now just been disabled, which would indicate now the intermediate tyre is the better tyre to be on this particular occasion. But yes, you rightfully point out, it's Jensen that's been knocked out. One of the faster drivers, you'd have to say, no disrespect to the rest of the PSGL team, but, you know, he's been knocked out in Q1 alongside Ogiano, Legend, and then Placky and Nick for the WOR Xbox team. That is bitterly disappointing stuff for Team PlayStation, as we'll take a look then at those standings as they are. And there it is. Otis Lawrence does top the standings, but he hasn't ran away with it. VSR Smokey only within 41 thousandths of a second, and Marlon for the PlayStation team 78 thousandths of a second within touching distance of the king himself. Scyther in 4th place, with Wilson in 5th, Sav in 6th, and Rowan in 7th. They're all within a quarter of a second of first place, by the way, so really close between all of them. McCabe, Sam, Rusty, and then Kazizel rounding out the top 10. Fabi, Louis, Tom, Rudy, and Levi all managed to get through to Q2 as well, but Legend, Ogiano, Jensen, Placky, and Nick out of this Q1, as Nick is left immediately by the looks of things, probably to get a little bit of training in ahead of the race. But that is it for this Q1 session, and I think we're back on intermediates.
Yeah, wow, this just tells you about this game. It just, you know, you think you've figured it out, but then they throw another bit of confusion at you. That was such an interesting change to the weather. I've never seen that before here in qualifying, but that made it really exciting for Q1. They had 1 lap, all of those drivers. Some delivered, some did, and it seems to me it's back obviously to the intermediates, but the question is, will it get heavier now? Will we see the full wet conditions? And if so, that maybe could lead to everybody going out early once again. Yeah,
get straight out there on a set of intermediate tyres. We'll have to see. Well, the initial setup from the garages is to put the set of intermediates on straight away, which is to be expected. The question is I mean, just anecdotally, it does look like to me that these that the conditions are actually wetter than what they were at the beginning of Q1. So potentially we could be heading towards an intermediate stint, you know, Ryan. And if that is the case, we are going to be expecting a load of drivers to be leaving straight away. And I tell you what, it looks like a big rush straight out of there. I think people are expected to head to wet soon, you know.
Yeah, full wet certainly seems to be likely, and everybody, literally every single car is getting out of this pit lane as fast as they possibly can. Everybody is not hanging around here, so definitely the full wet conditions are coming around. Cypher's going to be the first person to set a lap, so he has got the best track conditions possible by the looks of things if this wet weather is really going to start coming down very, very soon. The
question is that has he got the ability to be able to use that time to his advantage? Because, of course, he was down in P4, wasn't he, at the end of Q1, but he was only a tenth and I think it was 0.12 seconds down on pole, and that is a very small margin, and that might just be 4 corners ahead of track conditions, you know, deteriorating on circuit. There's definitely no dry line out there, that is for certain, so we are absolutely in intermediate territory here. The question is how quickly are we going to be heading over to wet? Now, the rain is not falling too heavy, well, not heavy enough, I'd say, in order for it to head towards wets for now, but of course that dry line will start to form as the drivers all set laps. But initially it will be Cypher that goes into turn 1, and I must say he was actually very confident going into turn 1, and he actually went a gear up on where he should have been. So obviously wants the extra traction going through into turn 1. He heads through the kink of 2 into turn 3, and he can brake later into this corner. You're going uphill, the car will naturally slow down quicker through there, and actually looking very steady indeed out there.
Yeah, a lot of confidence flowing through Cypher at the minute, and it's showing right now. Different lines being taken as well. Notice him not using the outside curb as much, but on that occasion he did, and he got punished for it. Seeming like those curbs are a little bit slippy in these wet conditions. So interesting decisions from some of these drivers. But again, that wide line being taken for this long left-hander through turn 6. So it's quite interesting to see Cypher's lines. But again, so cautious on the throttle. Doesn't want to plant it too early because it's so easy to spin in these conditions, in these intermediate conditions. Again, now through turn 9 and approaching turn 10, this is where the lap can be made or broken, and that was quite nicely done. Not enough speed carried though through that final corner. Coming up to line now, it's 11.282. Not too bad to start us off.
Yeah, steady lap time indeed. McCabe Sam did go faster though, his teammate in the second sector, as he'll come across the line, and he has beaten him actually, 112.2 himself, but then Shizu Tom comes across the line with an 11.2 himself, but then Sav comes across the line with an 11.0, and then Kazizzle comes across the line with a 10.9, and then other drivers coming across the line, Otis Lawrence with a 10.6, so these lap times coming in thick and fast at the moment. Initial lap times are suggesting track evolution or track devolution is not particularly a prominent feature at the moment, as other people coming across the line, Rudy with an 11.5, we've got Smokey with an 11.0, Levi with an 11.5, and then we've got Louis with an 11.6, Rowan with an 11.4. We are still waiting on a few drivers, including one Xbox driver and one PlayStation driver, that one Xbox driver being the newly reformed NRX team's Rusty, as he's now just heading through into turn number 6. Again, wider line through there.
Yeah, and Rusty's carrying a bit more speed through that corner, but again, get on the power a little bit too early. Snap of oversteer, catching that quite nicely. He's got a driver in front of him here, the Alpha Romeo off Cypher, so Cypher's going to have to get out of the way. He's going to be affecting his teammate's lap at this moment in time, but once again, that's going to definitely be off-putting for Rusty, and he certainly won't be happy with his Xbox colleague. Up to Linus on 11.645, stays in P14.
Yeah, Marlon struggling as well equally. He's actually invalidated his lap time on this occasion in the fish helmet. He's down and out of this particular qualifying sort of stint, but he has got a little bit of time to have another go on this one, as I'm taking a look at the conditions here, and the rain still falling, but a dry line ever so slightly faint maybe in there, as Otis is just giving himself some breathing space, and he is going to have another go at this one as he catches a bucket load of oversteer, and he's going to have another go at this one. Actually, let's go on board with Otis. And Ryan, not sure if you've done one of these before, but have maybe a little bit of a quick lap commentary actually with Otis as he's going through turn 1.
Yeah, and this is where a lap can be made or broken as well into turn 3, approaching now. This right-hander is so hard to get right. A lot of these drivers locking up, losing their rear end, but Otis getting that absolutely perfect in 4th gear, managed to hold it. Notice a lot of drivers going down to 3rd, even 2nd, some people, just to get that front end turned in. But that was quite nicely done from Otis. Now approaching turn 4, braking just at the 100-meter board, going down to 3rd gear. Again, that was so nicely done. A lot of these drivers have been struggling, missing that apex, but Otis getting that front end turned in nice and easy. And again, now through this long left-hander through turn 6, again, AlphaTauri getting out of the way quite nicely. Turn 7 again, goes down to 5th, short shifting back up to 6th to get on the power nice and early. Again, he's just got that confidence, a bit of oversteer again on that curb. A lot of these drivers are avoiding it. It seems to be so slippy on the edge of the track. And again, through this long right-hander, and again hitting that yellow sausage curve, and that's going to lose him a bit of time. Coming up to the line now, though, it's going to be an improvement, or not, 11.2. For Otis Lawrence. Yeah,
2.5 tenths down in the second sector. Looks to me as the conditions may be slowly actually beginning to deteriorate out there as well. So hopefully this is not the end of this qualifying session. But to be fair, all the drivers did leave very quickly. So perhaps that is something that we maybe have to expect on this particular occasion. As we go on board with McCabe Sam himself just on an outlet, we take a quick look in the chat as well. 316 of you tuning in. Thank you very much to every single one of you who are sort of watching this this amazing little event here, and what has been, I think, one of the most astonishing qualifying sessions I think I've seen in commentary history, in my commentating history since 2017. It's been absolutely fantastic to watch. We've got people in the chat. We've got Ollie Brooks. We've got Parody. We've got Newt. We've got Mr. Harris. We've got the legend herself, Jesh Games. We've got Mr. Harris in there talking the moment with Jake, I believe, as well. And we've got Steph in there as well. Good evening to yourself for the Shazoo team. And plenty of the PlayStation support out there in the chat at the moment who are currently witnessing Kazizzle getting in very close proximity at the moment with Otis Lawrence within around about a 3/10 barrier. So there is someone breathing down the neck of Otis from the PlayStation team here so far. It happened in Q1. It's happening again in Q2.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just wondering, can they be able to sustain it? It seems like the track certainly is getting a lot damper now. So I feel like these drivers are certainly going to struggle to improve. Rusty, I think, is going to try his luck and see if he can get any improvement on the board. He want to be out of the drop zone, but it's going to be, again, by the looks of things, 2 Xbox drivers and 3 PS drivers going to be eliminated at this moment in time if things do not improve in their favour. But the conditions certainly don't look to be going in the favour of any of these drivers who are currently outside the top 10.
Yeah, just going on board at the moment with Rusty. I think one of the things that Rusty's going to be carrying with him next season is that he's going to be wanting to find a bit of consistency. I think last season he had the pace and he was sort of in there fighting, with some really quick drivers last season, but the consistency was just a little bit on the down low. So maybe this season is that what he's going to be focusing on as he's now heading into turn 3. He's only 100th down, actually, 11 thousandths of a second down on his initial lap time. So he is looking to try and improve, but he's at least matching the first sector. If indeed he made a mistake somewhere in the second and third, that may be a positive step for him as he then heads into the turn 4, and he's just missed the apex a mile away there. So clearly conditions really not phasing him, and actually I believe he's not going to proceed on with that lap because he was quite slow going through out of turn 4 as he'll head through into turn 6 though. And then into turn 7, and yeah, I think he has bailed on this occasion, 1.3 seconds down on that particular lap. So I think you're right on this occasion. People are now considering their options. Actually, I think we've got Rudy at the moment for the PlayStation team, switching between intermediates and wets at the moment to determine which is the better tyre.
Yeah, and I feel like definitely seems to me like it's definitely the wet conditions now. The rain seems to be becoming a lot heavier on the car, so I feel like this is going to be make or break now for Rusty. If he's going to be able to improve, it's going to be marginal, but that marginal improvement might just see him able to get through. But it seems to me the track and the curbs certainly look a little bit too slippy for these intermediate tyres at this moment in time.
Yeah, people are starting to struggle here. Rusty's going to have another go at this one, actually, and he's 3.5 tenths down in the first sector alone, and that only consists of one corner to speak of. So I think it is all going to be really a consideration of sort of reconciliation of the qualifying session, see where you made your mistakes, learn from them and go through into the race. If you're in that bottom 5, as it stands at the moment, it's the same situation. We've got 3 PSGL drivers out and 2 WOR Xbox drivers out as it stands. Levi and Rusty will be out. Rudy, Louis and Marlon will be out for PSGL, which will mean it will be Rowan, Fabi, Scyther, Wilson, Sam McCabe, Tom, Sav, Smokey, Kazizzle and Otis Lawrence through to Q3 as we watch Fabi come across the line to have another go at trying to improve his lap time. He's still through though at the moment, and it's pretty crucial actually. If you're in the top 10 and you're still having to go out there trying to improve your lap time in these conditions, you really don't want to make a mistake, because if you crash out, you are out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I feel like it'd probably be better just to sit in the pit lane or just retire from the session at this point and just see the other drivers outside the top 10 looking to improve. But again, struggling through the first turn, down by 2.5 tenths. So again, Fabi not really going to be improving, and again, backing off. So that'll be his session done. But you've got to feel for some of those drivers outside the top 10, it was really just the first start. Their only opportunity was at the start of the session, and unfortunately for them, they didn't take it, and they've been punished for it now. And that's what these conditions have been like here in Austria here tonight. Unpredictable condition changes. So, and now they've unfortunately just not been able to deliver that. But that's the kind of pressure you're under here when you're facing against some of the best on both platforms.
Absolutely, and curiously, we've actually got 2 of the Shazoo drivers representing PSGL, Tom and Kazizzle, who are actually sitting at the moment in the pits on soft tyres, as we've got Marlon absolutely brilliantly capturing a horrendous tank slapper going through and out of turn 4 and avoided the wall, and he is okay. He would be out in the qualifying session anyway, but very, very well held, and that is obviously a testament to just his driving ability. You know, despite being in P15, the conditions out there are treacherous to say the least. But as I said, yeah, Kazizel and Tom currently on a set of soft tyres, sitting on the softs at the moment. Not sure exactly why, because the conditions certainly not favourable for dry tyres. You're closer to wets, if anything, at the moment. But as it stands, it looks like to me actually Marlon might actually be doing a little bit of a drifting scene at the moment through the around the track at the moment, as I believe he's going to be heading into the pit lane. No, he's going to have another go at it, actually. So, clearly having a bit of fun out there at the moment, Ryan.
Yeah, and he just lost it again on the exit, and that could be some rear wing damage, actually, as well. So if it did miraculously dry up in the last 3 minutes of this session, then that would be him in a bit of trouble. But, again, a few drivers selecting the softs, some on the full wet tyres as well. So I wonder if we'll see anybody get out there and you know, just see what they can do on the full wets, because that's going to be an interesting part of this as well. Because remember, if it's going to stick in these conditions of the full wets, you're going to be needed to get some runs in on the full wet tyres and really just get comfortable. Because again, the braking point's a little bit different, the traction's a little bit different. So let's just see if we see some more drivers decide to go out in the full wet conditions.
And with Louis now going out on the same set of on those wet tyres, it now confirms that in this qualifying session, we've used all 3 sets of compound of tyres here. Slicks, inters, and now full wet tyres, as he's now just going around the circuit at the moment. I'm wondering at the moment if he's actually on the wet tyre at the moment, because of course he's not going to improve his lap time on a set of wets, but if he's actually gone out there to help his teammates actually at PSGL to let them know, yeah, the wets feel not so good, feel great, or maybe he's just trying to get some data, get some feedback so the PSGL team know what to expect if they do need to go on the wet tyre heading into Q3, which I think obviously very good teamwork indeed from the PSGL team if that is the case. As it stands at the moment though, all of the other drivers now retiring from this session. They are done. We're not expecting any further improvements or running here as Louis now goes on a lap on the wet tyre.
Yeah, so approaching turn 1 now, see again go massively deep, so that's a change in the braking point. He's not really been used to it. Obviously with the intermediate conditions, it can break a little similar point to where he does in the soft. So again, he's gonna have to adjust to that one. Definitely seems to me that it is the full wet tyres or the better tyres, but again he's just completely struggling to find some grip. Taking that outside curb is a no-go. That's why you've seen a lot of those drivers deciding to avoid it here in qualifying when it's starting to rain, because there's simply no grip on those outside curbs. And again, he's going to try and take that same line and just can't get that car turned in whatsoever into turn 4 there. So it's quite interesting to see, again, with these tyres and whatnot and the changing conditions, how these drivers are going to really adapt here in Q3.
Certainly going to be the question. 35 seconds left in this session. Looks like we're going to be all done and dusted as Rudy now comes into the pit lane now off of the wet tyres as well. He retires from the session down in P11. He is out as well. So unless Louis somehow could get across the start-finishing line and have another go on these wet tyres, he's going to be out as well as he gets a big tank slapper and he's in the wall, and that is a front wing completely, well, now it's completely destroyed as he puts it into the tyre barrier. That will be it. He enters the wrong side of the bollard, but to be honest with you, don't really think it matters at this point because he is out of qualifying, and it's the same situation again, Ryan. We've lost 2 WR Xbox drivers and we've lost 3 PSGL PlayStation drivers.
Yeah, and there's no surprise as well. It's that man Otis Lawrence on top once again, 2.5 tenths clear off Kazi behind him, but it's an interestingly close qualifying, followed by Smokey, Sav, Tom, McCabe, Sam, Wilson, Cypher, Fabi and Rowan round up to top 10 there.
Absolutely indeed. So they are your top 10. They are the drivers that are going to be now heading their way to decide who's going to be on pole. But for the second time in a row, we do have a PlayStation driver breathing down the neck of Otis Lawrence now, and 2.5 tenths separating Lawrence from Kazizel. So he's not entirely running away with it at the moment. There is a little bit of a small maybe breathing space between him and the rest of the drivers, but that has opened up since Q1. But we are now going to be heading through into Q3 now, and this is where we're going to be seeing what the conditions are going to be like. We have seen people testing inters, testing wets. If the inter tyre is still the best tyre to be on, we're going to see an influx of 10 drivers leaving the pits very quickly indeed. We'll see then as we now go on to the onboard, and I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to be on wets.
Yeah, it's definitely so. All the drivers seem to have selected it. Cypher actually going to the Inters and Shazoo Tom. Interesting decision from some of these guys. They're actually all switching to the intermediate tyres so far. So maybe, just maybe, we'll see some guys on the intermediates here. And the Inters seem to be the better tyre, because obviously they've got the garage data which tells them when they select between each tyre, it does tell you which tyre is quicker, and it seems to be the Inters are still faster somehow, and Cypher is going out. He could be on pole position here because this track is still getting wet.
Yeah, it's getting increasingly wetter, which means people are now heading out, getting on the intermediate lap. Because the thing is, the situation could be the game has put them on the wet tyre, because by the time that they start a lap, the conditions will be wet enough for the full wet tyre. But for now, at this exact moment, the inter tyre might be faster by around about 5/10, but will it be the case when they get across the line to start the lap is the question. Cypher has been the driver that's just straight in, straight out, and wants to get on with it, and he's doing it again, and he is putting himself in prime position, especially considering Cypher has left on a set of intermediates. Otis Lawrence has set out on a set of wet tyres.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting. I was bit surprised to see that, but obviously Otis feels like the track, while they're on their outlap, is still gonna get so damp that the time that he gets to begin his lap, it'll be purely full wet conditions. But let's see what it can do, because if Cypher can do a lap time which is a bit slow but it's quick enough to beat Otis, he'll be comfortably through. And he could steal pole position away if he's able to just hook up a semi-decent lap here.
Yeah, here he goes then. He's now coming across turn 10 to start his lap right now. On that set of intermediate tyres, Otis is just behind. He's now coming across turn 10 and now across the start finishing line to start his lap on the wet. So this is going to be a good comparison. Actually, pardon me, he's now come into the pit lane. He's not going to proceed on with a set of laps, with a lap on a set of wet tyres. So he's decided he wants to come in, and he's going to have the intermediate tyre on by the looks of things. But the question is it now going to be too wet to do a lap on the intermediate tyre by the time he gets round, I wonder? This is going to be a really giant question mark here about track devolution. He's getting a little bit of a tow at the moment though, Cypher, going into turn 4, and he's getting a little bit of a tow from one of the McLarens. It's actually Kazizel from the PSGL team, so always a help to say the least as he now comes into turn 5 and then into turn 6. Now we see people go a little bit wide of the usual apex here. Not Cypher though, he keeps it closer to the curbs than a lot of the other drivers have been throughout this session, as he then heads through into the very, very tight turn 7 and keeps it well off of the curbs, as to be expected around here. It does get a little bit damp on those curbs especially, because of course it is heading uphill in our perspective, heading through into turn 9 and then into turn 10, and again it is very, very tricky. Actually, he's keeping it very he's driving very gingerly around there as he comes across the line. Lap time now, it's a 1:13.3. It's significantly slower than what we've been seeing with the other intermediate lap times, but is it fast enough than the rest of the field that are going to be going on to intermediate times right now? Ray Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, exactly right, and let's just see how this all plays out. A few drivers just starting their laps. Wilson, Fabi as well, but on board with Shazoo Tom, see what he can do. Going down to 3rd gear. Oh, he did back off there. I was just wondering why he was going so low, but that does explain it now. But now it's going to be Sav, I believe, is going to be one of the next drivers to finish a lap time. Shazoo Tom obviously backing off on that first attempt, but you can see Sav struggling on the throttle there. This car would just not let him rest, and he was just fighting it ferociously there. Now through turn 7, this long left-hander, so common where the drivers just lose the rear end, but nicely held there from Sav. Now again through this long right-hander, so much speed needs to be carried through here to gain as much time as possible, avoiding that curb. Again, the downhill right-hander into turn 10, quite nicely done. Coming up to the line now for Sav. It's a 12.776. That was a very nice lap time indeed. Yeah, very nice lap time actually. Cypher may have been a little bit too conservative on that particular occasion. Fabi comes across the line and improves though and goes to a 12.5. Kazizel will come across the line and was once breathing down the neck of Otis Lawrence. At the moment, significantly down on his teammate Fabi. On pole at the moment with a 12.5. He has a 12.9, does Kazizel, as McCabe Sam is also on a lap as well. Don't discredit McCabe Sam, by the way. One of the quickest drivers I've seen, especially last season. A very consistent runner as well for St. George Esports. As we just keep an eye on Otis Lawrence as he heads through into turn 1 now. Does the Veloce Academy driver as he then comes through into turn 1. And again, very, very quick on the acceleration pedal, and actually a lot of traction on the rear considering the conditions. Are the intermediates the right tyre to be on despite him coming out later than anticipated? Well, certainly does look like it. He's gone faster by 0.2 in the first sector over Fabi. Yeah, he seems to be able to get on the power a lot earlier than everybody else around him. It's amazing to watch. His throttle application is just perfect, and that was not perfect though from Otis Lawrence. A bit wide, wider than he usually likes it through turn 4 there. And again, this is quite interesting to see how Otis is able to just adapt his lines and adapt getting on the power as well compared to everybody else. It's a purple middle sector for Otis, and this surely should be good enough for pole.
Yeah, might be looking all right at the moment as well. He's certainly up. Actually, might be breathing into the 1minute 11s here, could Otis, as PSR Wilson goes at the fastest of anyone so far with a 12.4. The conditions starting to improve, perhaps, with all the plenty of drivers out, maybe getting rid of some of the water. 80 litres a second with these tyres. As a 12.0, he is breathing down the 11s here, is Otis Lawrence. Fastest of anyone so far, and it is a WOR Xbox front row lockout at the moment with Wilson in second place. Scythe will be a bit disappointed that he's in 8th, considering he was the first one out. So a bit of a shocking stuff at the moment for him, as he's he sets at a 12.8. It does improve in the end. Rowan, though, comes across the line with 1 minute 12.4 himself, but he's down by only 5 thousandths of a second on Wilson. Do not discredit PSGL. They are well in it.
Yeah, they certainly are. 3, 4 and 5. That's a nice split from Otis and Wilson in first and second for the Xbox platform. So they're doing a very good job, the PS guys, sticking together, and that's going to be crucial for them to work together to really apply the pressure when it comes to the race. Qualifying around Austria is so crucial. Minimum time, and that's a massive mistake there from McCabe Sam. He's surely going to have to back off, but he definitely will want a bit of a delta here, so he might actually continue it, but not long left in the session. I wonder if he'll decide to go into the pits here.
I'm wondering if he might actually come into the pits and use another set of inters, if he has actually got another set of intermediate tyres is the question, because of course we've had 3 stints of interchangeable conditions, but intermediate being the main one, and he might decide just to back off, recharge the battery and have another go immediately out of the block here. We do have some other drivers that are still out on the field at the moment. Rowan has just come across the line and he's going to have another go at this one. He's actually a 10th and a half down on his initial lap time, so he's going to probably recharge the battery and maybe come in, as Sav has actually gone half a tenth up in the first sector, looking to improve at the moment on his 12.7, and he would actually go up to a 5th place at the moment, beating Shazoo Tom, a PSGL driver.
Yeah, that would be, again, very crucial for this race, and minimal improvement, and that's up 1 position, but again, he's finding more time now, up by a 10th here. He's got low on fuel, and Smokey, by the way, going up into P2 there, so it's an Xbox WOR 1, 2 and 3. 4 minutes left of this qualifying. What can PSR Sav do? Can he join his Xbox colleagues inside that top 4? We'll have to wait and see. Very nicely done through that final corner, using all the track available to him. Up the line now, he does improve, but stays, just goes in front, sorry, of Shazoo Tom.
Yeah, it's an important lap, that, actually, from Sav, because at the moment, despite the fact that Otis, Smokey and Wilson are rounding out the top 3 for Xbox, Rowan, Fabi and Tom are creating a brick wall, 4th, 5th and 6th, which might make it very difficult for any of the other Xbox drivers to try and join the top 3 in the race. So if them 3 have got that brick wall there, that is a crucial sort of step towards a good strategy between all of the team at PSGL. So Sav breaking through that wall and reducing it to 2 is a massive help, but they really need help here, do WR, from the Alfa Romeo team. They need McCabe Sam to get on the board, and they need Scythe to improve on that 12.8. Initially, I can't believe I'm saying Scythe needs to improve, because he's one of those drivers that's just so consistent, so out there, always in the mix, but so far it's been a really poor Q3. He needs to get in there and try and break up that PSGL wall, and if they want to try and dominate in this race and at least have the upper hand when it comes to strategy. Kazizel just leaving the pits.
Yeah, now Fabi is starting his first run on these fresh intermediate tyres, carrying so much speed through that turn 1, using all the track available. Again, some of those drivers deciding to clip that inside curb. It all depends on what line you really take, and again, this hairpin into turn 3. Up by a 10th, so that's going to be a big improvement here for Fabi, holding it in 4th gear. And that was quite a nice exit from the Red Bull driver. It's quite interesting to see, again, the line didn't decide to use that outside curb while Otis Lawrence decided to. Again, he's going to avoid this outside curb once again. But again, a bit wide through there. But again, carrying enough speed, but he could just get inside into the podium position here, could Fabi.
Yeah, he potentially could do. He's obviously trying to avoid not hitting every single apex because, of course, that white painted line can be a little bit slippy on occasion, especially if you're going through corners like this one. If you can mount that curb too much, you could get a big tank slapper, but actually quite conservative and quite well taken here from Fabi. Looking to try and at least get into the top 3, try and break that brick wall in front of them, actually. But if they try and hold off 4th, 5th and 6th, they're in a good position here to really break up the Xbox party here and potentially get some inroads in the race. Here comes Fabi then. He goes fastest of anyone with a 1 minute 11.9. I say break the brick wall. He's absolutely demolished it and put himself on pole position. And now track evolution is a serious possibility, a serious factor here. Otis is only up 44 thousandths of a second in the first sector and only up a 10th in the second here. Otis is at risk of not getting the pole position. Could the crown be at risk for Otis, I wonder, as he comes into turn 9 and again not very well taken. Couldn't put down the throttle as quick as he would through turn 10. Hits the yellow sausage curb. This has not been a good lap here from Otis. He might go fastest of anyone, but it's only by half a 10th here. He's at risk of not getting pole.
Yeah, it's a really sloppy lap from Otis, something that you rarely see. PSR Wilson having to back off as well, so that's not a good sign for the Xbox platform as well. Rowan as well, he's improving through the first sector as well. Kazi as well, he's going to be improving 5 tenths up now for Shizu Kazi. He's going to need a bit more time through this last sector though. Bit of a distraction from the Alfa Romeo in front of him off Cypher, who's yet to start another lap time. Cape Sam coming up to the line, he goes up into P3, so that's a big improvement there for McCabe Sam.
Yeah, big improvement here. Comes Kazizel, wants to go from 10th up into the top 5 if he can. Oh, don't make that top 5, make that pole position. Beats Otis Lawrence. I did say it would be at risk, but it's 3 thousandths of a second as Tom goes even faster with an 11.864 for him as well. He gets beaten by 3 thousandths of a second himself, so there's 6 thousandths of a second separating first from third at the moment. Smokey retires in the pit lane. Bitterly disappointing stuff as regards of timing, because these track evolution is a serious factor here. Fabi has gone fastest of anyone so far in the first sector. Otis is up a 10th and a half in the second sector, and he's up 2.5 tenths in the third sector, making him the fastest of anyone so far. But I must say that lap time is not really set in stone for pole position here. If someone could get a good lap time at just the right time out here at the moment, Otis, it might not get pole. That is the question here. Rowan is going through the first sector. He's just gone through into the second sector. McCabe Sam is a 10th and a half up in the second sector. He wants to try and improve in the third if he can. As he comes across the line, gets a horrible tank slapper. That might cost him. Comes across the line. It has cost him. He only goes 4th. And that now means we've got PSGL drivers in second and third, and we've got Xbox WOR in first and fourth, as Kazizel goes fastest and Otis Lawrence. Fabi comes across the line and makes it a PSGL 1-2 front row lockout unless Scyther can improve. He can only go 6th fastest. Sav tries to improve. He gets a tank slapper as well. Can he try to improve? He goes fastest so far with an 11.528. Wilson comes across the line, can only stay in 10th. And that, my dear friends, is why you don't ever discredit anyone when it comes to the weather. We have an Xbox WOR driver on pole, but Kazizel, Shizu, Rowan and Fabi for PSGL have made it a 2-3-4 for PSGL, and that is a massive, massive advantage when it comes to strategy.
It certainly is, but what an end to qualifying that was. The track was getting quicker, the rain was getting lighter, and the intermediates were becoming even quicker, and that's why you just saw the lap times come demolishing down right there. But my oh my, Sav Legend at the end of qualifying has pulled it out at the death. What a lap time that is. Under so much pressure, he delivers to just pip Shizukazi by 24 thousandths.
Kazizel, Rowan and Fabi, despite missing out on that pole, will be so happy with the strategy call though now, because they have got control over Otis Lawrence, and who's behind Otis Lawrence? Another PSGL driver in Tom. So they can sandwich him and cause some serious problems and some serious headaches for the WOR team, who could only get 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th between them, apart from Sav, who runs riot and gets pole here tonight in Austria. What a start to this event. What a qualifying. Q1 was absolutely astonishing. Q3 out of nowhere has become rather astonishing, and the crown certainly a little bit at risk, you'd have to say, going into 2023. Otis not getting the best out of that one. We now go through into the race, And immediately out the blocks, 440 of you tuning in. Thank you very much to every single one of you watching this one. What an event it's been so far. Who is favourite for this event, just as a team in general? We're back in dries, so this is going to benefit those that decided to start on a dry setup. That is going to be the question. The main question here, though, is who's at the advantage going into this? Surely it's PSGL.
You'd got to agree with that because they've got the most drivers in the biggest points positions. You've got to have faith in that for the PS guys. You know, they're going to have to surely deliver under these conditions. It's dry. There's no change in conditions as we know of yet. We'll have to wait and see if that comes into it because strategy is going to be absolutely essential now for these guys. They're going to have to make sure they get it all right because one mistake, one bad pit stop, and you know, that's a few positions lost. And Austria track position is essential.
It is absolutely essential, and that is going to be the question. And I think people have already made that decision on when it comes to essential sort of positions on circuit, because I've got a lot of people electing to start in the hards. We are expecting hard medium on that one, so we are going to be looking forward to this one. But it's all going to be about towards the back, I think, because we're going to be talking about a bunch of these drivers. Let's talk about specific drivers in this event, though, Ryan, before we get into this. So Rowan won the WOR PlayStation series in Season 13. Jensen, who starts all the way at the back, won Season 12. So we've got two champions, you know, in WOR racing for PSGL tonight. And the Aston Martin team are in a bit of a tiff here, because one's at the back, one's towards the front. Especially Jensen. He could cause some mayhem for the drivers towards the back, because he's so quick. So this is going to be an interesting factor.
Yeah, it is. And I wonder what their strategy call is going to be as well. Is he going to go out long? Is he going to go for an undercut? We'll have to wait and see, because obviously the overcut is certainly more promising. But getting on those fresh mediums earlier on, putting in some lap times, you can really make a good undercut work around Austria. So let's see what the strategy is going to be for those guys. But Otis is going to be a close eye to watch. He's not used to not being on pole. So can he get through these PS drivers? And if so, how quickly will he be able to do it?
That is going to be the main question indeed. We do have a safety car on as well, so that could also be in the mix. It's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and it's 5 lights. It's 5 lights, and they are a go. The drivers, here they are, and it's a really good start around that outside line for PSR Sav. Kazizel may want to put a bit of a dive on the inside line. That second wave, though, has been an absolute beauty for the McLaren as he puts the pressure on, and Kazizel still puts that pressure on. Going to be going on the inside line into turn number 3, but then Sav really gets the run up going into turn 3, so it might have to be a dive from Kazizel on this particular occasion. Is he going to look for it on this occasion? He chooses not to, but look at one of the Alfa Romeos going side by side with the Alfa Tauri and makes a bit of a sandwich between the pair of them. Scyther and McCabe Sam already making some inroads, 7th and 8th respectively. Positions gained and lost all around the field, but the main one at the moment, Otis Lawrence, gaining 1 on Fabi. He's up to 4th.
Yeah, we've got some changes as well. Wilson now going up into P9. He's at a good start. Up 2. Cape Sam down 2 positions as well. The Express guys really got to be careful not to fight too hard. But now as well, Marlon as well. He's up into P14. Rusty being overtaken. And now Legend going to go around the outside here.
What a move.
Contact between the two of them, but what a move that was from Legend. That was superbly done from the Ferrari man. And again, McCabe Sam is dropping like a fly here.
Yeah, really good move that actually from Legend. He was sticking around the outside actually of Rusty for 4 corners, so he was really fighting out to get that one. And you know what? He absolutely won that challenge. The question is though, is he going to win the marathon, not the sprint? That is all it's all about. At the moment, Sav's still leading the way from Kazizel, from Rowan, and Otis Lawrence in 4th place. Fabi down to 5th, already breaking the wall. But look, he has 2 drivers in front and 2 drivers behind who are PSGL at the moment, and that means that they can control the main driver, the big driver of the team here. And it's all going to be about what Scyther can do to try and break through this brick wall and try and help get a sufficient points haul here for the WOR team, because 2nd, 3rd, 5th and 6th, massive points haul for PSGL.
It really is, and that. But again, we've got a long way to go, and these drivers got to remember that. It's only lap 2, remember, here, and there's already a bit of fighting going on in the background. Literally, drivers separated by less than a 10th, and NRX Rusty down 4 positions. He's lost even more places now. Shazoo Jensen getting past the WR champion as well, former champion, obviously. Getting past, and that's going to be crucial. Again, getting these inroads, Xbox drivers seem to fall backwards early on in this race. But again, it seems to me, Sav, some to get in that rhythm. 6 attempts, and he has got a battery advantage of over 30% more now than Shizuka Zeal.
I mean, that is the power of the Paradox Sim Racing team, who have been astonishing last season, so I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what 2023 brings for the team. At the moment, though, the magic of the team powering Sav through this race at the moment with more electrical energy around here means that he's going to be certainly at the advantage as Rowan makes a mistake going through into turn 3, and that is now going to invite Otis Lawrence down potentially into a move here. Now Rowan was a key driver here, wants to try and hold Otis as much as he can, but if he keeps making mistakes like that one, Otis will very easily eat up any positions that are handed to him.
Yeah, exactly that. And Fabi, interestingly as well, is still taking intermediate conditions lines here. He's avoiding the curbs, and this is quite an interesting strategy here from the Red Bull, and he's seeming to lose a little bit of time to Otis Lawrence now. 7 tenths of the gap. He's got to be mindful of that. So is Tom, but Tom as well, saving the battery at this moment in time. But again, crucially, you can't lose DRS around Austria, because once you lose it, it's very hard to get it back. And now Cypher is looking to apply that pressure. 90% on the battery. The Alfa Romeo certainly seemed comfortable behind the Alfa Tauri.
Oh, I mean, the Alpine at the moment has got so much more electrical energy than Kazizel at the moment. Kazizel is, I think he really knows at the moment, if he ends up losing DRS to Sav, then the entire PSGL strategy will crash, because he needs to be within the DRS territory of that Alpine in order to try and keep that brick wall surrounded around Otis. But of course Rowan is making a few mistakes himself. He made a mistake on the last lap at turn 4. He can't keep doing that, because then if that brick wall falls, then the other team, the other WOR drivers, will be very happy to swallow up positions that the wall will lose here, as we've got Nick and Legend getting into a little bit of a battle for P15 and 16. And of course, remember, I'm talking like P2, 3, 5 and 6 are big points here, but remember, every position gets a point in this event, so it is going to be important that you finish, and that is a message that's been certainly passed on to Plaque, who unfortunately has had to make a pit stop, and he is now 47 seconds back from 19th place at the moment, but on, I believe, on a new set of hard tyres.
Yeah, he's just going to be hoping for the safety car to really save his race. But again, Nick has made a massive mistake. Snap of oversteer. This is going to invite Jensen to really apply the pressure to Nick. Here we go. The WR Season 12 champion going around the outside, and is he going to be able to pull it off? Nick going very late on the brakes and somehow stopping the car. That was unbelievable defense there from Nick, and the Alpine is going to look to survive at least this lap, but his ERS certainly is not looking too healthy. Otis Lawrence now and Rowan are side by side here, and here we go. The Mercedes going to go the inside line through turn 6. It's going to be side by side still. This is brilliant stuff between the two of them, making a little bit of contact again through turn 7. Who's going to come out on top? Season mate Rowan is just going to be able to hold it.
Still side by side.
And again, still side by side. And again through turn 9. Surely Otis is going to have to concede. No, he's going to try and hold it from the outside. He's being forced off there. He had to back out. He had to concede. But crucially, Rowan has now lost the DRS here.
Yeah, but he's going to keep going here because that DRS open gives a little bit of a wiggle, gives him a tap up the rear end. See, I'm still here, you know, Rowan. And Otis, putting all that pressure on Rowan without that DRS, is going to make a very easy move potentially as he heads through into turn number 3. Is he going to hold off? I believe he may hold off because it's all going to be about that move into turn 4 maybe. DRS detection point is there, and he's going to go side by side, and he's going to chop off the Aston Martin, and that move may be all done and dusted, but Rowan gets better traction, and they're still side by side going through, heading into turn 4, but with that DRS available, Otis Lawrence breaks the wall, and he's now up to 3rd.
Yeah, and now 2 seconds is the gap. He's going to have to go close a whole second, and now they're going to have to work together here. But will they do that is the question. PS and and Xbox working together? Surely not, but we'll have to wait and see. Otis has got a big task on his hands. Maybe Sav might have to work with Kazil and Otis here. Maybe Sav decides to back off, slow up Kazil and get Otis Lawrence back into this train. Let's see what kind of tactics the WR team decide to play here. But now the train really is on top with Rowan. Having to, with that battle with Otis, has really formed up this train once again.
Yeah, the problem is, though, is that he needs a sticking plaster when it comes to his ERS, because he is very limited on the electrical energy in the Mercedes power unit in the back of that Aston Martin at the moment, which is going to harm him detrimentally. Fabi may make the decision to overtake Rowan to potentially apply pressure on the king himself, Otis Lawrence, at the moment, but keep an eye out on Shazoo Tom at the moment. He is at the back back of this wall, trying to block Scyther from any moves. And look at that ERS he's accrued in the Alpha Tower. He's not made any inroads, and as a result, Scyther has been stuck as well, so he's not been able to use any of his electrical energy either. So if he can't make any moves, then the WOR team might say to Scyther, get out of the way and let Wilson have a go at this one, because we need to make some inroads on this brick wall of 3 drivers at the moment. And as I said, the strategy falling well in favour of the PSGL drivers, as Lawrence is starting to make some inroads already on Kazizel, 2 tenths found in the last couple of sectors.
Yeah, and just on board with Talent Factory running. He's going to go around the outside here, possibly. Going to try and copy Otis Lawrence. Fortunately not getting the move done, but he's put Smokey offline there, which is crucial to get a better exit. But once again, bit of a mistake, and now Otis is ramping up the pressure. 5 tenths he has gained on Shazoo Kaziel in the last 2 laps, so this is going to be quite interesting stuff. But again, McLaren driver of Ruddy is really applying that pressure to Smokey. He's been having to defend left, right and centre on lap 7 there.
Yeah, and towards the midfield as well, of course. Lewis just set the fastest lap of the race so far, so he's now beginning to put the pressure on Levi at the moment with the WOR Xbox team here, as we keep an eye out on Smokey again. Like I said, was under pressure a little bit from Rudy on this occasion, though he's managed to pull away from Rudy a little bit, and now actually getting some assistance from his teammate Wilson in 8th place at the moment, as we've got people potentially getting into a little bit of a scrap towards that rear end, as it looks like Otis has lost about 3 tenths in this particular lap occasion. Has he had a bit of a tank slapper?
Yeah, he did into turn 4. The rear end was got away from him, locking up the rear. That's an unfortunate error there from Otis, and that's just invited Rowan to apply that pressure again. But once again, he's just been able to comfortably pull away through Sector 2 and now Sector 3, and he's looking to close down that gap once again. All that hard work got undone from that one mistake. That's what it is. One mistake and you get punished on a grid like this, and this is what this grid's all about, racing against the very best, and we're seeing it left, right and centre.
PSR Nick, 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings now, so here comes now the issues when it comes to track limit violations, and the first one falling guilty of WOR down in 16th place at the moment. Rowan putting some pressure on Otis Lawrence now, well within the DRS territory of the Mercedes, as we've got Sector 1 here flags waved, and that's for one of the Red Bulls. I believe it's Marlon who's had a spin at turn 1, as we've got a few drivers all getting into some serious battle towards the rear end here, as we're keeping a very firm eye at the moment on what's happening in that midfield with Scyther at the moment, who's really starting now to put some pressure on Shazoo Tom at the moment. Looking pretty sharp actually is the Alfa Romeo, just staying again within touching distance, but needs to make some inroads fairly quickly here, as we're starting now to get through a quarter of this race done.
Yeah, exactly that, and I'm wondering, when is Scyther really going to apply this pressure to Tom? Seems to me he's starting to pick up the pace a little bit now, using a bit more of that battery, and Tom's having to reply, and then that's forcing Fabi, who's struggling a little bit on the ERS now, down to 25%. So again, will we see the swap around between Shazoo, Tom and Fabi? Because at the end of the day, it's not going to be, Tom's not going to be able to hold up Scyther too long with a battery so healthy.
Yeah, but that's the issue, you see. If Tom decides, you know, I'm going to make some inroads and I'm going to overtake Fabi and think about my sort of position here, then Fabi is going to be left in a little bit of an awful situation in the battle for 7th, because, of course, Scyther's got so much more electrical energy. He can make the overtake, then Wilson, then Smokey, and Fabi may end up falling down the standing. So, actually, it may be within within PSGL's benefit to actually keep Fabi in 5th place at the moment. But in doing so, no one can make any inroads. So, it's a really a weighing up of options here between all of the race strategists on the PlayStation side at the moment. Either way, they have the upper hand, whilst they're holding Otis Lawrence in this little pocket at the moment, as he's now managed to find another 2 tenths now on Kazizel at the moment, who's sort of managing it at their own race at the moment. Actually, Kazizel starting to breathe down the neck of Sav at the moment. He's now beginning to struggle, actually, is the front man. We've not talked about these two that much because they basically ran their own race, but Kazizel's still within DRS territory of Sav. Means Sav is still under pressure and just a bit above 50% ERS.
Yeah, exactly that, and Sav's been able to control the pace quite well, doing consistently good lap times here. Otis on 107.1, so that just tells you he is really not messing around here. He's got to save some of the battery as well, but Fabi, crucially as well here, by the way, is on the barrier of losing DRS here. Both Shazoo, Rowan and Fabi now less than 10% of the battery. They are really struggling with the ERS at this point in time, because the pace is just ramping up lap by lap, and now we've got a question on our hands. Will Tom get past?
Yeah, now you got the situation here because Fabi is now out of the DRS territory of Rowan, and now that means the wall is starting to lose a few bricks, and if that ends up becoming a serious factor as again through turn 4, Otis gets a little bit of a tank slapper, not as bad on the previous occasion, but still gets a little bit of a loss on the rear, so he is now beginning to push, but Rowan is staying within touching distance. Fabi is now at serious risk of potentially making this wall fall apart here, and if that's the case, Tom has got to make the overtake and has got to make some inroads and at least try and keep the wall healthy even without a layer in Fabi on this occasion. You'd have to argue Scyther, though, still just within touching distance of Tom DRS here because he's actually 3/4 of a second here, so he's at risk of potentially losing the DRS himself, so he's not had a good couple of laps here, and I'm wondering if WOR Xbox are saying, Scyther, I'm sorry my friend, time to swap.
Yeah, exactly that. Now Fabi has been told to let go because he's lost the DRS crucially. Tom gliding past with ease, and now this is where I feel like we could see a few positions starting to change around now because Fabi's going to have to save the DRS, or he's going to have to put up a fight of a lifetime because he's got a whole lot of Xbox drivers behind him. Cypher, Wilson and Smokey, and they've all got a whole lot of battery behind them. So, how long can Fabi hold these Xbox drivers back? And if he does, this could really start to detach this train quite dramatically here.
The legend of Self-Jess Games in the chat actually making the comment that Fabi apparently is the king of defending. He was outstanding in Silverstone in PSGL, which means if you're going to have a driver that's going to be struggling with the ERS who needs to be a good defender, it has to be Fabi, and he's in that wall, so it's all going to be about the defense versus Scyther here. Scyther himself now really beginning to push here, I'd have to say. I'm just keeping an eye out here as he's heading into turn number 10, and it looks to me as if he's going to now start a push, and he may be looking for a move potentially into turn 3, but while staying behind the Red Bull going into turn 3, so of course he'll have the DRS going into turn 4. Here he goes then, through turn 1, excellently crafted from Scyther with that DRS open and plenty of ERS available. The red flashing light at the back of the Red Bull indicates that he's running out of electrical energy in that old Honda power unit. As he goes down the inside line, he goes for the lunge and he's going to stay side by side, but Fabi will have the traction, but he will not have the engine power, and now Scyther breaks the wall.
Yeah, and here comes Wilson. He's looking to get involved. Fabi has to defend to the inside. Wilson says, I'm going to go to the outside. And Fabi using all the track available to him.
Good racing.
Squeezing Wilson. This is close stuff between the pair of them. The Red Bull's going to have to concede the position here, surely. Wilson going a little bit wide of the apex. Maybe that was a little bit tactical, but what a brilliant move that was from PSR Wilson. Darts down the inside. That's him up into P7. That's critical move for the two Xbox drivers.
Did say that as soon as he becomes the driver that needs to be the one who defends, he's going to struggle, and he's lost 2 in just the 1 lap. Might be a defender, but you can't do anything when you haven't got the power behind you. Smokey will be very keen to get this move done, and in fact he's looking like he wants to get the move done very quickly already as he tries to go, just makes a little nudge to the inside saying, I am going to defend from you, you know, Smokey, says Fabi, as they go now down with the DRS open, DRS available for the Red Bull, but no power at all without that electrical energy. The red light blinks and he makes the move down the inside line to try and hold off, so he'll have to defend from it, and he does get a little bit of a switchback, does Smokey, but he's going to have to make the move with DRS again, but can't get the traction down. But crucially, he has the power as he goes down around the outside line of turn 4. He's going to have the inside of turn 5 by the looks of things. Little nudge of tyres going through that corner as they go side by side again. Marlon setting the fastest lap of the race so far on the medium tyre. Smokey makes the move done into turn number 6, and that move is done and dusted.
Yeah, it's another brilliant move from the Xbox side. Fabi put up an absolutely unbelievable defense there to be able to hold on for that long as well with the battery advantage that Smokey had. You've got to give credit to him for that one because he had no ERS, and that battery power was such a big advantage for Smokey. He really should have got past him sooner, but he placed that car to perfection. But he's done enough to detach the train. Now Smokey is now vulnerable to Fabi once again. Yeah, and in the space of 2 laps now, advantage WOR, 3 drivers now creating a brick wall between him and TF Rudy, would you believe? Does that sound familiar by any chance? Scyther, Wilson and Smokey now leading the way as they try to put pressure on potentially Rowan and Tom. While this is all happening, by the way, fair play, Kazizel and Sav still in touching distance of each other at the moment, but Otis Lawrence 1.3 seconds to Kazizel at the moment. If he gets into DRS, that is going to get very spicy indeed. It really is. 2 tenths is all Otis needs, and he's been very, very quick through this middle sector. He's just been able to carry the speed. Now it's down to less than half a tenth. Surely this is the lap for Otis Lawrence, and Kazi knows it because he's using some of that battery once again. But here we go. Otis now is within the DRS range Absolutely incredible stuff. He was over 2 seconds behind, and he's managed to claw back that deficit in the space of about 5 to 7 laps there. So that was unbelievable stuff from Otis Lawrence. He's now within DRS, and here we go. The fight's back on for this win for Otis Lawrence.
Yeah, certainly going to be looking for it now after what was a little bit of a tumultuous qualifying session. Otis Lawrence now looking to try and at least get that top step and try and show why he's the king of Xbox and why he's the king, of course, of the platform that brings him so much joy and so much love in the community as he gets within touching distance. Now we've got McCabe Sam and Fabi getting into a battle himself. He's really struggling at the moment. It's Fabi now without that electrical energy, still using overtake despite only having 3, 2, maybe even 1. But the thing is, McCabe Sam is also struggling as well with the ERS management as they go into turn 4 side by side, and that's a big tag slapper and into the wall. He might have got away without any damage, but his pride has been hurt. He's down to 15th.
Yeah, it's a big mistake from McCabe Sam. He went in deep on the brakes, a little bit of contact. Obviously, Fabi could go nowhere else. He was onto the outside curb near enough, and that is a bit of a mistake there from McCabe Sam. What a shame. He was having a good drive there for WOR, but now Jensen is all over the back of him. He's got some defending to do, and he's close to losing that DRS range now because he's nearly lost it to Nick, but he's had a good final few corners and he's just about held on.
What a quiet race it's been from Jensen, actually. 16th at the moment and struggling with the RS as well, actually, like Sam McCabe. So on this particular occasion, you'd expect that these two are actually going to be quite close in contact. It's all about whether, though, McCabe Sam can stay within the DRS of Nick, and Nick will argue, well, I don't want to give you DRS because I've got my own battle with Louis in front of me at the moment, who especially is battling with Levi, who has a time penalty on his cards as well here. Lap 17 of 36. We're just under 50% of this race completed, and so far advantage still falling in favour at the moment of the WOR team, but to say the least, Rudy is suddenly becoming a little bit rude, you'd have to say, to the WOR team, because he's now come out of nowhere and started to break the wall of WOR drivers himself. Now up to 8th, beating Smokey, trying to chase down Wilson, as we've got a yellow flag wave for an unfortunate Rusty, who spins.
Yeah, and he's done that. He did that last season as well in WOR. Again, he had a very, very good qualifying, and he spun at that exact same corner in turn 4. On the exit, it's deja vu for him, and now Smokey is into the pit. We've got our first pit stop, and this is a very early call, I do believe, from Smokey. So this is crucial for his race. He's got very little battery, but an undercut might be necessary to get him back within that fight and getting, crucially, back in that DRS range. Yeah, the number 98 is now going to actually have a little bit of clean air, you'd have to say. He should come out in front of Rusty on this particular occasion. If that is the case, then we're going to be in a situation where Smokey is in a place that might just see him really switch those medium tyres on and run riot, to say the least. We'll have to see either way. Is that undercut going to work? It's not a track known for undercutting here in Austria, so if that is the case, we're going to be in for a little fight of our lives here. I think one of our fights that we're going to be seeing here is going to be with Otis Lawrence. Look at this, 2.5 tenths now separating him from Kazizel, but while this has been happening, Otis has been, well, carrying Rowan and Tom with him as well, as he gets a little bit of a weave on. I'm not sure whether he was trying to commit to potentially going into the pit lane as he gets a tank slap, but very well caught. He's saved plenty of VRS as well as Otis as well. This is one of the rarer things that we see from a driver like him. He's able to catch up with people but not use any of his electrical energy, and that lifting and coasting has not cost him too much time. Plenty of people now coming into the pits now after VSR Smokey made the call to come in. Rudy, Legend, McCabe Sam, Oggiano also, I believe, coming in as well. Pardon me, Oggiano not coming in. I believe actually it's Wilson who's come in for a set of medium tyres, but we should see a little bit of a improvement from those drivers now as the medium tyres start to switch on. The question is, are they going to commit to that undercut, and is it going to work? Smokey's done a very good job with the undercut. He's jumped Rudy, and now crucially, he's in DRS range of Wilson. He's going to have to go a bit late on the brakes to get within the DRS range, and I think he might have just fallen short, but Wilson might be able to lift a little bit and invite Smokey back in, and this could be crucial because now Rudy is out of the DRS range of Smokey here, so he's going to have a very good outlap here as Rudy to get back within contention. But what a strategy call this has been from Smokey. He's now back within a fighting chance of getting some very big points for Xbox.
It's a little bit of a long shot though, because unfortunate Unfortunately, characteristically of Smokey, he does use his ERS quite aggressively, and he is now really, really low on the electrical power in those batteries at the moment, below 5%, which means that he's using it to try and stay within touching distance of Wilson, but Rudy is going to be able to find all of that time just in the traction of having all of the power available at his disposal. Otis Lawrence now coming in to get off of those hard tyres. He's now on a set of mediums. He's hoping to at least get a bit of an undercut on as Louis and Fabe swap positions for PSGL. So now they are going to be, it doesn't really look like it was a bit of a fight, to be fair, because I think Louis just wants to get the move done with Fabi struggling still with his electrical energy. PSR Nick looking to try and get the move done. He's got plenty of electrical energy at his name here, so he could make the move going around the outside, and that's a little bit of a late call though from Fabi, who tried to use the inside line, but unfortunately he's lost traction as a result of that. Didn't really need to defend from that really either. As he goes through into turn number 6, he's now certainly on the back foot.
Yeah, he's looking to just hold on here, and Sav coming into the pits. He is the race leader now into the pits. So is Kazil, and is Tom sticking out? He is. Him and Rowan both sticking out for another lap. Kazil actually did drop out of the DRS range to Sav, so a little bit of a mistake on that previous lap, but it managed to just pull back enough time on that second sector to really get back within DRS. But now we've got Shazoo Rowan leading us here on lap 21 with his Shazoo teammate closely behind.
And then we keep a very firm eye on what's happening here as Otis Lawrence then is going to be coming around here into turn number 1. Is he going to keep it nice and tidy? And is he going to get the undercut on drivers in front of him? He is, you know. He's managed to get the undercut on Savik Kazizel. He only needed the extra lap. He's now up to 8th.
Nick has just been spun round here. Massive contact between the two. I think Shazoo Jensen might have hit the back of PSR Nick, and Nick is absolutely furious about that one. He is not moving whatsoever, and that is massive for the points here, and that could certainly lead to a stewards inquiry. I feel like it was Fabi and Louis were battling it out, and it all got a bit scrappy between those three, and there we go, Nick all the way down into P17 now.
Yeah, disappointing stuff there on that particular occasion, but Otis in a situation now where he's managed to commit to the undercut, and it's worked an absolute treat, and in that circumstance he is now leading the way into what I think could be a potential race victory. It is only 1 lap older tyres, but that is massively going to benefit the likes of Otis in this particular occasion, because now he's 1.2 seconds in front of Sav. He's not got the DRS as Sav, so Otis is going to lead the way. The question is, are the other drivers, the likes of Jensen, Fabi and Louis, going to extend their stint and slow down Otis, Sav and Kazizel? That is a potential factor in this. PSR Nick, 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and chooses to retire from this race, despite the fact that he would have got points regardless. So now they are losing a driver, and losing points are the WOR team as a result of that. Disappointing stuff.
Yes, Nick going to be absolutely livid. I'm not surprised, but hey, he's a young kid, and these things happen when they lose their heads, and you know, he'll learn from this. But now we've got a battle on our hands with McCabe, Sam and Levi, 2 Xbox drivers going at it. Here we go, and now Rusty also getting involved, all fighting for a little bit of pride here in for P13. And that's a safe. I thought that was a safety car being deployed there, but no, it's just Nick's car coming out of the pits. But again, these guys all sticking out here in the top 3.
Oh no! There goes into a collision between Rusty and Legend as they get into racing side by side. Legend has been doing that pretty much all the way through the race, but Rusty unfortunately getting a horrible bit of oversteer, puts it into the side of Legend. Legend was able to carry on, but into the grass goes Rusty, and now I think into the pit lane to potentially change the front wing, and potentially if he's got damage.
Yeah, that's not a surprise there. Big mistake from those two, and once again another Xbox driver coming out on the worst side of things. I wonder if he does retire the car. No, he doesn't, smartly, because there is obviously a safety car, and these guys are all fighting very, very close here at the front. We could still see some contact, and you never know, we might have a safety car in these final closes of this race. But what a race has been so far. Ooh. And I just wonder when Tom's going to pit.
Sorry, Shazoo Jensen has committed to a spin. He's ended up having the hard tyres on, and he got a tag slap, and he was catching it, and spun it. And now he's down to 12th place, and on old hard tyres might just be his race over and done with. In doing so, though, Otis means that he's going to be catching up with Fabi very shortly, and PSGL would do wise to keep these drivers out longer in the hope that they can try and hold Otis's performance and potentially bring the likes of Kazizel, Rudy and Jensen, and the likes of Legend and Ogiano potentially back into the mix. But they've got to try and hold back a very, very quick driver out there at the moment on these mediums.
Yeah, it certainly seemed to be the tactic there from Shizou, at least, for the drivers at the front to really hold up Otis, but that failed. But can Fabi do it? He's done it before. He's managed to hold up Smokey for a good lap. So the question is, will Fabi be able to return the favour? Those hards certainly are not looking in great condition at this moment in time, and now Otis is within the DRS range. It's only a matter of time, but at the same time, if he does get held by Fabi, that's going to be beneficial for the likes of Sav behind, because he'll be back within that DRS range, and he'll certainly feel a lot less pressure with Kazil right on his back now. 3 attempts between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Just keeping an eye out now, as now he's now into that territory with those drivers now who he's going to be considering as back markers, but of course they are racing, and Fabi, as Jess pointed out earlier, is a person that is known for his defending apparently. So is he going to defend hard against the king himself, Otis Lawrence? We'll have to see as he now goes in there, and he is going to squeeze him to the inside line. Acute angle means surely Otis is going to back out on this particular one. He's not! He's going to go late on the brakes, and what a move! Gets the move done! So late on the brakes, keeps it at track limits, and gets the move done. P5!
That was sensational there from Otis, but Fabi is not done. Is it going to go to the inside? No. Otis smartly placing the car, bang in the middle. Nothing Fabi can do. But Kazil now going up the inside of Sav Legend. What a move that is from Kazil, and this could be huge. 1 second. Will Fabi now drop off and give DRS back? But no, Sav's coming right back at Kazil. To the outside line he goes. Will he be able to? Oh my god, he's going to be fighting ferociously. Oh my god, he's on fire. What's going on? I cannot believe what I'm seeing. The desync. Oh my goodness me, he's still on top of him. And there we go, Sav Legend goes through. Kazil, and he's still on top. This is what is going on? I cannot believe my eyes, and they're still going through each other. And there we go, Kazil's now back in front. The ghosting system is having an absolute nightmare, and they're still, there we go, Kazil somehow gets the move back, and what a weird situation that was.
And full confirmation that this video is now age restricted. Thank you very much there from the Codemasters team, offering us a nice little laugh on that one. Either way, Kazil does manage to make the move though on Sav. He's now in front, and actually Fabi is not going to hold up Kazil's performance here, now up to 6th place, as Fabi is still on 25 lap old hards, by the way, is going to try and defend here from the Alpine, and actually positions his car very well. Can't make the move, can't get the power down, and can't get the switchback done and dusted, but he's got the traction, but he hasn't got the power at the moment as Fabi, but nor has Sav. So the inside line now completely taken up. Kazil not going to be held up by Lewis, and there is a little bit of a collision up the rear end, and Sandwich boxed in, and boxed in even further from a tank slapper from Louis, and there comes Sav, who can't make any inroads at the moment, as he's still boxed in between Louis and between Fabi, but the move is now done and dusted as Fabi can't make any inroads. Here comes VSR Smokey getting into the mix with Wilson also in there as well. Placky retires from the session. Fabi makes the move and actually just let Smokey through on that particular occasion. It was an absolute monstrosity happening there, as these 3 drivers are still battling out and Louis still holding on.
That was unbelievable defense there from the PS guys or PSGL. That was sensational. They squeezed Sav into a position where he just simply could not do anything more, and Louis really is just holding him up as long as he can. Sav has lost over 2 seconds because of this defense. Unbelievable stuff from those guys involved, and Fabi makes his life a lot easier for Rudy to go past.
Ooh,
and now
Wilson.
we're going to see, Wilson now going to try and get involved, and that's interesting defending. Look at bit moving on to the break in there from Louis on my end, but no way through for Wilson. And now we've got 3 wide possibly. Here we go, Smokey, and now Wilson all getting involved. Wilson decided to defend here from
oh no! There's a collision between Louis and Smokey, and in the end, to be fair, they were really battling hard and strong, and I think Smokey was almost getting knocked off the track from Wilson at one point, as Rudy also losing the rear end a little bit, potentially nearly crashing into his own teammates on that particular occasion. Stays in 11th. Louis gives the position up straight away. Old hard tyres, doesn't want to get into a battle. Rudy now up to 10th. Fabi in 9th. Smokey in 8th with Wilson and Sav in 7th and 6th. Kazizel is in 5th with Otis Lawrence in 4th place at the moment. So going around there, it looks like we've got a spinner, and it's actually McCabe Sam who's got into a collision. I'm not sure, he might have collided with someone. No, he's actually unfortunately spun on his own in 16th place at the moment, heading around turn 7. As it stands at the moment though, while this is all happening, Scyther is still trying to put pressure on Tom and Rowan at the moment on the old hard tyres. They're looking to do a hard soft stint by the looks of things, as Otis Lawrence is 6 seconds behind. Surely not going to fall into too much of an issue with them in front, as Wilson getting close to Sav and staying in touching distance for 6th and 7th. Big tank slapper, well caught though.
Yeah, they've got to work together now. The 2 PSR guys, really, they've been very, very good this season, obviously in WOR, and WRLD. So it's really interesting to see what they're going to do now. They surely got to work together and really make some inroads, swapping around, DRSing each other, and they will eventually close up to Kazil out in front. But Shazoo Tom seems to me like he's fainting to go into the pit lane to put Cypher off a little bit. But no, Cypher again doing a very good job following these two Shizuka Ivers in front. He's got 95% of the battery. I wonder when he's deciding to go. Is that an Alpha Romeo round? It is, of McCabe Sam. I feel like we could see some tactics deployed now from the Xbox guys to really get it back into contention. Could we see McCabe Sam going a lap down to give DRS to the likes of PSGL to get them within that fight once again?
Oh, that's spicy if that is the case. While this is happening, what's some spicy racing happening at the moment between Legend and Levi. It's been absolutely fascinating watching these two for 12th place at the moment as they're going side by side through corners and then getting switchbacks left, right and centre. It's been absolutely wonderful to see these two, but unfortunately Levi struggling with the ERS. It's a characteristic that we've seen a bunch of the Xbox team actually, where they've been really struggling with their ERS management, but Legend on the other hand also in a bit of a spot of bother at the moment when it comes to the ERS. So these are going to keep battling while Argiano is also going to be catching up the pair, as it looks like Louis is just handing the position over in fact, no, it looks like Rudy's actually given the position to Louis, funnily enough, despite being on old hard tyres. Surely the old hard runners now are going to be going onto a set of softs imminently, because the soft tyre sort of benefit you get from being on this hard tyre as long as you have is going to be really, really falling off a cliff by the end of this lap. If you don't come in now, it could be a serious problem, and it looks like Rowan, Tom and Scyther are staying out even longer. They're hoping for a safety car, but at the moment everyone is really evenly spread out at the moment. The closest battle at the moment is for that 12th place spot between Legend and Levi.
Yeah, they're going to really have to put in some qualifying laps at the end here, because they're going to fall so far back from the guys in front, because Otis is 3.5 seconds near enough to them already. So the time they pit, they're going to be really far down the order. So I wonder what they're really going to be hoping for. And maybe, like this clouds, if you look up a little bit, they are getting a bit dark in the top left-hand corner. Maybe they're hoping for intermediate conditions. I'm not too sure what they're really hoping for. Has to be the softs this lap, or that's really it, because, you know, they could really just hold on and it just, the rain doesn't come or whatever, but this has got to be the lap now. Surely that Cypher, Tom and Rowan all decide to pit.
Forgive me, but I think that's 6 points drop now from the Xbox team for people retiring in the pit lane. They really don't need to do that, because the points are such an important factor in this, despite the fact that Xbox are really flying high at the moment. If a safety car ends up happening here, Rowan, Tom and Scyther could be in a really, really good spot, but as it stands at the moment, they're not pushing any further, as Rowan has decided to come in, so it will be a set of soft tyres now to the end of the race, but it's only a 5-lap stint on a set of soft tyres. I really don't think he's going to reap the benefit of being on a soft tyre when you've been on the hards for that long. Levi still in touching distance with Legend at the moment, but Legend getting very close here to Rudy in P11 at the moment, because he's being held up massively by Louis, who's decided to stay out on the same set of hard tyres. And in fact, are they going to get the cut on Rowan? They are. Rowan, it's a bit of an unusual situation here. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on, but Rowan now leaving on the soft tyre. Louis in the end elects to just let everyone through by the looks of things, as Rudy now gets through, and we've got drivers coming left, right and centre, and Levi also wanted to get in the mix as well, as he taps one of the McLarens and he tries to hold off from Louis. And you know what? Louis has done a really good job letting all of his team through, but not Levi, because they're still going side by side heading into turn 4, and it's going to be later on the brakes. He's not going to touch the McLaren, is he? Oh, he is going to go side by side with the McLaren, you know, and it's going in that situation, Louis has been overtaken. Levi is trying to get past Rudy in that same corner. What a dive around the outside if that one works, as he gets squeezed off, and it looks to me, I'm sorry, that TF definitely understeered off there, and it looks to me as if he maybe have pushed one of the drivers, pushed the Haas driver off there. I'm not sure what happened. It looked like he got a bit of a tack slapper maybe, but he definitely got in a position where they touched and they both went off the track.
Well, it seems to me again, Rudy has made a mistake, and what is going on here?
What is going on?
It's really weird. I've never seen anything like this. This kind of defending. It's a bit extreme on display right now from these three drivers involved. Cypher all the way down to P14, and he's going to have to get through Louis as well, who's holding on for a lifeline at the minute. And again, it's front wing damage. That explains it for the Talon Factory driver of Rudy. Again, he's got the better straight line speed. Louis defends to the middle. There's nothing he can do, surely, about it. He's going to try and brake later. Oh my goodness.
Oh, what a move around the outside.
Could have been a disaster. But what a move that was again from Levi. Side by side they go. And there we go, Rudy has just got the better straight line speed, and he's able to just breeze past Levi, but the question's going to be asked about that kind of defending there.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, that one. I will be wondering if there's going to be any stupid inquiries around that one, but it was indeed very, very precarious there as he tries to go around the outside once again, does Levi, and gets into a collision with TF Rudy as well, and then gets fully spun out in a 3-car collision between him and Scyther and Louis on 31 lap old hards. The safety car has been called out with 4 laps to go, and this race has been turned entirely on its head.
I have never seen anything quite like that before, but my oh my, Cypher will be livid with that one. What was going on there? Cypher will not be a happy man whatsoever. With that defending has been questionable there from FBR Louis, and now it's going to be one down to the stewards because these are a whole lot of points lost. But Shazoo Tom is going to reap the benefit here massively. He's in, maybe, what on earth? Shazoo Tom is in P2 here, and with fresh softs, he's going to be absolutely outrageously fast compared to everybody else. What a final few laps we're going to have on our hands here.
Yeah, but unfortunately, he will fall as far as P6. I mean, that's a massive gain, but he won't be able to stay in front of Kazizzle, Sav, Wilson, and Smokey. He might stay in front of Rowan, but it is going to be all about those tight margins. Of course, it's an 11-second pit stop under the safety car around here. It's a very short pit lane. Here comes Tom then, who makes this one work a treat, and whatever the case may be for that safety car coming out, and whatever opinions you may have, the point stands as the safety car is out when we have 3 laps to go in this one, and I expect the safety car will be coming in either at the end of this lap regardless, or certainly at the end of the 35th lap, and if that's the situation, we are in for definitely a sprint.
We certainly are, and it's all going to kick off here. Shazoo Rowan up into P5 now. Tom, P6. That's an unbelievable strategy call. It seemed like the defense was so aggressive from the PS guys there, and now they seek the benefits on this safety car for Shazoo Tom, who's going to get some big points here for PSGL, and that is going to be very, very interesting. But again, now it's PS in the 8th, 9th, and 10th. So that's some huge points gained, and this is why you don't retire from races here, folks, because there's always these chances of late safety cars. McCabe Sam, FRA Placky could have been getting some huge points for Xbox here, and now they could really fall backwards. But now there's some rain here hitting on our screens. Oh my goodness me! This is going to be a very, very interesting final few laps, and the guys on the mediums are going to struggle more than the guys on the softs. Yeah, the rain is now beginning to fall. Those that are on the medium tyre will begin to struggle, and we know how quickly we've ended up falling to intermediate tyres. Whatever happens, definitely, he's already losing the rear, actually, is Otis, as he's trying to get the rears warmed up, and he's going to have to get them nice and hot. But Rowan, Tom, and Smokey are certainly dark horses in this race, but they need to get past some incredibly quick drivers, and he goes very early, does Otis. He's gone the moment the safety car's come in, but he's made a mistake already. These conditions are deteriorating, and they're deteriorating fast. Here we go then. It's lap 35 and 36, the penultimate lap of this race, and Otis does lead the way, but he had a massive tank slapper that was well caught, but he went off of the track as a result. We have lost a driver all the way at the back. I believe that is Louis who has spun, and here we come then going through into turn 1, and I'm not being funny, but those conditions, that track is looking increasingly wet, you know, and I have a feeling we may be approaching intermediate conditions very, very quickly here, as we have a lock-up from Sav, which has invited Shazoo Tom down the inside line into turn number 3, and that move is now done and dusted. The softs are coming on very quickly. Yeah, what a mistake that was. He's got a penalty for it as well. And there we go, Shazoo Rowan go down the inside.
Oh my goodness me!
Drivers have got off. What is going on? Smoking up into P3.
Kazizzle's off.
Yeah, he's off as well. Wilson going up into P5 now. What is going on here? There's our Sav struggling for grip. Fabi has spun round as well. The Red Bull down into P10. What a final few laps this has been. What is going on here? These drivers are on ice. Unbelievable stuff. Otis Lawrence is planting his car.
Whoa!
He's actually drifting through these corners. They're in a straight line. What is going on here? They won't approach the final few laps, and they're going to be at walking speed.
It's absolutely intermediate conditions out there, and everyone is on the dries. We start the final lap of this race. Otis Lawrence is on 15 lap old medium tyres. Smokey makes a move on Shazoo Tom to make it a Mercedes 1-2 and make it a WOR 1-2, but he's gone wide. wide going into turn 1, and Tom has made an absolute beauty of turn 1, and that puts him back up again. Wilson is trying to find out, but people are skating off of the circuit. It's like an ice rink out there at the moment. Ogiano is 25 seconds back. Surely he's not going to benefit from this, as everyone is very, very slow around this. Otis stays in front, Tom stays here, but Smokey has got better traction. Fabi has crashed out at turn 1. His race is over as they go side by side going into turn 4. Smokey is trying to get side by side. You've got to brake early though, and I don't think either of them have. They both locked off. Otis is on the grass as well. Shazoo Tom is looking to try and make the move done, but he can't because the wall is there. Otis is defending like a lion out there and doing Veloce proud. Going around the outside is not going to work on this occasion. Look at Rowan. He's making moves. He's on the podium now getting into this one as he's trying to get closer and closer to Alpha Tower is Tom, but it's looking like it's going to be a collision, and they've collided, and Rowan and Smokey on this occasion, and Wilson is now up to P4 as a result of that one. But we have to give credit where credit's due to the man who can now drive on slick tyres when it's a swimming pool. Otis Lawrence will take victory here tonight in the WOR PSGL 10 versus 10 crossplay event. Tom finishes in second. Oh, Jensen has crashed on the start finishing line. He was on for 5th. He's now out of this race. Kazizel finishes in 5th. Legend in 6th. Time penalties apply. Rowan's in 7th. Rudy is in 8th. Levi is in 9th. Ogiano is down to 11th with Levi down to 10th, with Cypher getting into the top 10 as a result of the penalties. Sav, what a disappointing race in the end, finishing in 11th. And then we've got Louis, Rusty and Marlon trying to finish off the rest of this race. It is a very, very unusual situation here, folks. But PSGL have got 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th, despite the fact that we do have WOR 1st, 3rd and 4th. This might be a close points haul.
I cannot believe what I have just seen right there. That was unbelievable. Last few laps of this race. I think that's got to go down as the most dramatic race we have ever seen. It's just a safety car, and then the inters hit, and nobody's on the intermediate conditions. Unbelievable stuff, and somehow Ogigano has got 20 seconds worth of penalties. I feel like that's going to be removed, surely. But Jensen, on that final lap, it went for a move on Smokey. Smokey had nowhere else to go, and it was just a bit of wheel contact, and Jensen has to go spinning round. He'll be absolutely devastated with that mistake. But in these conditions, what can you expect? The respect was there from everybody, but my oh my, some drivers were really giving it their all, and what a final lap that was.
I'm absolutely gobsmacked that we have basically witnessed that as one of the best endings to a race I think I've ever seen. However, there are going to be questions raised surely about the racecraft from certain individuals. We have to make clear that it's not PSGL that has let anyone down. It's certain drivers that might have been a little bit too aggressive. That's how it works. That's racing. Let's get it cleaned up in a clean and concise manner. All we can say for sure is this man has just won it, and he has won it in astonishing circumstances on used mediums, manages to get across the line, across a swimming pool, to become the victor tonight in this 10 versus 10 tournament, WOR Cross PSGL. And a big thank you in the end to all 700 of you tuning into this race. What a race it has been indeed. Don't forget, of course, the PC guys are going to be racing. That will be on Wednesday night, and that's going to be an absolutely fantastic one, so keep an eye out on all of the relevant social medias for that particular event. But before we wrap this one up, let's have another look at those standings. Otis does win the race from Tom, from Smokey, from Wilson, and then Kazizel, Legend, Rowan, Rudy, Scyther, Levi, Sav, Ogiano, Rusty and Louis rounding out those top 14 in the menus. As then we head towards the back, of course, we've got Marlon and then Jensen DNFing at the very final corner. He will classify, but really disappointing considering he was on for 5th, with Fabi in 17th. Sam, Placky and Nick all chose to retire on their own accord, so no retirement due to crashing. That didn't classify, but nonetheless a very, very interesting race indeed. But I must say, Ryan, what a race.
I'm just speechless. I'm lost for words of how good of a race that turned out to be. It was all a bit of a stalemate. The PSGL guys put out some tactics. They decided to, keep Louis out, and that caused so much problems for the Xbox guys. And it really started to put up on a hell of a fight. And then the safety car got deployed, and oh my god! And that's when it all went wrong for everybody. There was no grip, and I'm so surprised Otis was able to hold on those medium tyres because they were so much worse than the softs. They had way less grip, and somehow he was able to just hold that car together in one piece and bring it home. But wow, I just everything about that race was just unbelievable.
I mean, he's on another level, though, is the king. He's on the screen now. The guy managed to really recuperate what was a very, not a poor qualifying on his part, just a really disappointing set of events that led him to being so low on the grid, considering his performance. But he manages to get the victory tonight, after what has been a great undercut, and then that medium tyre only just holding on. In the end, it's been one amazing little race, I have to say. Apart from that finish, what are the main highlights, do you think, Ryan?
I think the main highlight would definitely be that Louis defense, and as well as Fabi as well. Them holding those guys up really did cost Otis, and it cost Sav, remember, time to Kazil. Kazil broke 2 seconds to Sav and Wilson, and that literally saved him from any kind of attack towards before that safety car came out. It was thrilling to see. That was the main highlight. But again, Otis as well, being the guy that he is, being able to make his way through the field from P5 to, do that undercut as well. Those strategy calls were so crucial to getting the victory, and that was certainly one of the key highlights for me of that race. Was those PSGLs.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one of the big highlights for me, you rightfully point out Louis defending, but I also want to very briefly, touch on, the defending as well from that brick wall of drivers towards that beginning of the race, because those 3 drivers really set in motion what they were intending to do. It's just unfortunate that the brick wall started to slip the moment that people were struggling for the ERS management. So it is something that I think a lot of people, this is what these events are for. They start to realise, right, this is where I made that mistake, I'm not going to do that again. And then later down the line, they become better drivers. So at the end of it, can anyone beat the king? The answer on this occasion, no, but he's certainly not going to be running away with it if this race has got anything to go by, folks. We are back online for the PC event, as I said, on Wednesday night, so don't be afraid if you are going to be missing out, if you're going to be worried about missing out on any action. Keep an eye out on the socials on both PSGL and WOR's forums, but that is it from the CrossPlay event. Thank you very much for all of your time, guys. It's been an absolute wonder for a race that has just been, I think, probably one of the best in my entire commentary experience, I must say. Ryan, it's been a pleasure to be alongside you for this one as well, buddy. From myself and the rest of the team here at WOR versus PSGL, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.